First Contact's price. The quantum alert pierced the silence of Solar Defense Command's underground chamber, its harsh tone drawing all eyes to the main holographic display. Director Sarah Chen rose from her chair, coffee forgotten as she studied the readings. An unknown object had just appeared at the edge of Jupiter's orbit, its energy signature unlike anything in Earth's database. Classification, she demanded, though she already suspected the answer. Humanity had waited centuries for this moment. Non-human construction confirmed, reported Captain James Rodriguez, his dark eyes fixed on the stream of incoming data. Size approximately 300 meters in length. No weapons signatures detected, but the energy readings. He shook his head in amazement. Whatever their power source is, it makes our fusion reactors look like chemical batteries. Chen nodded grimly. They had always known first contact would come eventually. That's why the Aegis Protocol had been implemented 20 years ago, transforming Earth's defenses in ways that even most of humanity didn't suspect. Multiple objects deploying from the vessel, announced Lieutenant Wei. Small probes spreading out across the system. They're passing straight through our outer defense grid like it isn't even there. Let them come, Chen said quietly. Maintain surveillance but take no action. It's time to see what they want. The probes scattered throughout the solar system, scanning everything in their path. Earth's official defense forces tracked them openly, while other, more secret systems watched from the shadows. Hours passed as the alien vessel maintained its position, presumably processing the data from its scouts. Then, without warning, a message burst across every communication channel on Earth, its translation matrix perfectly adapted to human languages. The voice was artificially smooth, but the arrogance in its tone needed no translation. Attention, primitive species of Sol 3. You have been evaluated by the Nexus Collective. Your technological development has reached a level that requires oversight. Submit to collective authority within one standard stellar cycle, or face immediate developmental restrictions. Resistance will result in extinction-level response. This is not a negotiation. The message repeated 3 times before falling silent. In the command center, Chen allowed herself a small, dangerous smile. Send word to the Council. It's time to activate Phase 0. Deep beneath the lunar surface, in chambers unknown to all but a handful of humans, ancient machinery hummed to life. Similar facilities on Mars, Europa, and Titan powered up simultaneously. For 20 years, Earth had prepared for this moment, developing technology that would change the rules of space warfare forever. The aliens had made their choice. Now, humanity would make theirs. 3 days later, Chen stood before the Emergency Council of Earth, her presentation drawing gasps from even these hardened leaders. The Nexus Collective is an alliance of 17 spacefaring species, she explained, showing intercepted data from the alien probes. They dominate over 3,000 star systems, maintaining their power through technological superiority. When they encounter new civilizations, they demand submission. Those who resist. She displayed images of shattered worlds, their surfaces turned to glass by orbital bombardment. But they've never encountered anything like us. Chen continued, bringing up schematics of Earth's secret weapon. Project Phase Shift doesn't just hide our ships from detection, it partially removes them from normal spacetime. Our vessels can observe, move, and attack while being completely undetectable by any known means. How many ships do we have ready? Asked the Council President. 300 capital ships and over 1,000 support vessels, all equipped with phase shift technology. They'd been hiding in plain sight, conducting war games throughout the solar system for years. The Nexus probes didn't detect a single one. The council chamber erupted in shocked murmurs. Earth's official fleet numbered barely 50 ships. The idea that a secret armada had been operating undetected for so long was staggering. The collective believes they're dealing with a primitive species barely capable of interplanetary travel. Chen pressed. Their fleet will arrive expecting an easy conquest. Instead, they'll face an enemy they can't see, can't fight, and can't escape. "And you believe we can win?" the president asked quietly. Chen's expression hardened. "They threaten to exterminate our species, Mr. President. Winning isn't enough. We're going to shatter their empire and make humanity the dominant force in known space. The Phase Fleet will make extinction a reality, but not for Earth." As she spoke, the first wave of Nexus warships emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the solar system. Their sensors showed exactly what they expected: a handful of primitive human vessels scrambling to respond, planetary defenses barely worthy of the name. They never detected the 3 Phase Fleet battle groups taking up position around their formation. They never saw the targeting systems locking onto their command ships. They never knew they were already dead. Humanity's counterattack was about to begin, and the galaxy would never be the same. "Send the response to their ultimatum," Chen ordered as she returned to Solar Defense Command. "Keep it simple." The message that reached the Nexus fleet contained just 4 words: "Extinction goes both ways." The Phase Fleet revealed itself just long enough to fire its first salvo, then vanished again as alien ships began exploding in perfect silence. The war for humanity's future had begun, and the hunters were about to become the prey. Ghost Fleet rising. Admiral Marcus Reeves watched the tactical display as another Nexus battle group vanished in a series of silent explosions. The Phase Fleet's hit-and-run tactics had proven devastatingly effective. 3 weeks into the war, the aliens still had no defense against ships they couldn't detect. "Status report," he ordered, his weathered face illuminated by the holographic displays aboard the flagship Shadowfall. "Targets eliminated, sir," reported Commander Diana Pottle. "No casualties on our side. Phase shift systems operating at optimal efficiency." She paused, checking another reading. "Intercepted communications indicate the Nexus forces are falling back to Rally Point Sigma. They're massing for a major counteroffensive." Reeves nodded grimly. The collective had finally realized this wouldn't be the easy conquest they'd expected. Their response was predictable: gather overwhelming force and try to steamroll Earth's defenses through sheer numbers. "Let them come," he said quietly. "The bigger the fleet, the more targets for us." Deep in Nexus space, the collective's high command was facing an unprecedented crisis. Supreme Commander Xithtal, his crystalline body pulsing with agitation, addressed the gathered representatives of the 17-member species. "These humans," he spat the word like a curse, "have somehow developed technology that defies our understanding. Our sensors cannot detect their ships. Our weapons cannot target them. They strike without warning and vanish before we can respond." "Impossible," declared Vorkon of the militant caste. "No primitive species could advance so far without our knowledge. There must be a flaw in our sensor systems." "The facts are undeniable," Xithtal responded. "In 3 weeks, we have lost 67 capital ships and over 200 support vessels. Our casualties number in the thousands, and we have yet to confirm a single human loss." The chamber erupted in angry debate until Xithtal raised a crystalline appendage for silence. "We have no choice. Activate the Thanatos Protocol." Back in Earth space, the Phase Fleet's intelligence division detected a surge of activity in Nexus communication channels. Director Chen, working closely with Admiral Reeves, analyzed the intercepted data. "They're deploying something called continent crackers," she reported during an emergency briefing. "Planet-killing weapons designed to shatter a world's tectonic plates. Multiple launch platforms are being moved into position." "Can they reach Earth?" Reeves asked, though he already knew the answer. "Not if we strike first." Chen brought up a tactical display showing suspected weapons platform locations. "We've identified 3 primary staging areas. If we hit them simultaneously, we'll need to coordinate the entire fleet," Reeves finished. "A single mistake could let one of those weapons through." The next 48 hours saw the largest deployment of Phase Fleet forces yet. 300 ships divided into strike groups, each targeting a different Nexus staging area. The aliens had gathered massive defensive forces around their superweapons, believing that sheer numbers would protect them. They were wrong. The phase fleet struck with surgical precision. Ships would materialize just long enough to fire, their advanced quantum weaponry tearing through Nexus shields like paper, then vanish before return fire could find them. The aliens' attempts to predict attack patterns proved futile. The phase shift technology allowed Earth's vessels to move in ways that defied conventional space warfare tactics. Multiple detonations detected, reported Commander Patel as the Shadow Falls battle group struck their assigned target. The weapon platforms are breaking up. But, sir, we're detecting some kind of quantum surge from the debris. Before Reeves could respond, space itself seemed to twist around them. The phase shift generators throughout the fleet fluctuated, their readings going haywire. They're using the platform's destruction to generate some kind of quantum disruption field. Chen's voice came through emergency channels. They're trying to force our ships back into normal space. All ships, emergency protocols. Reeves ordered calmly. Shift frequencies and execute scatter pattern delta. The phase fleet responded instantly, their advanced systems adapting to the new threat. The Nexus forces had hoped to catch Earth's ships exposed when their stealth systems failed. Instead, they found themselves firing at empty space as the human vessels shifted through different quantum states, becoming even harder to detect. Send word to command, Reeves told Chen as the last weapon platform exploded. The Thanatos protocol has failed. Recommend immediate implementation of Operation Coastmaker. Chen's response was grim. Already approved. The phase fleet has new orders. We're taking the war to their core worlds. As the human ships regrouped for their next attack, intercepted Nexus communications revealed growing panic among their leadership. Their ultimate weapons had been destroyed. Their defensive strategies had failed. And now Earth's ghost fleet was coming for their home systems. The hunters had become the hunted, and the galaxy was about to learn why humanity had kept its true strength hidden for so long. The phase fleet had been built for one purpose: to ensure that any species that threatened Earth with extinction would face that fate themselves. The real war was about to begin. The hunter's shadow. The quantum alarms aboard the phase fleet scout ship Whisperwind screamed to life, alerting Lieutenant Sarah Kang to something unprecedented. She'd been monitoring Nexus research facilities in the Arcturus sector when her sensors detected an energy signature that seemed to defy physics itself. Command, this is Whisperwind, she transmitted through the secure quantum network. I'm detecting. I don't even know how to describe it. Some kind of tear in spacetime. Energy readings are off the charts. Back at Fleet Headquarters, Director Chen and Admiral Reeves studied the incoming data with growing concern. The Nexus Collective, driven to desperation by the phase fleet's unstoppable attacks, had apparently decided to break their own most sacred technological taboos. They're trying to create a quantum nullification field, Chen explained, her face pale as she interpreted the readings. If they succeed, they could potentially collapse all phase shift fields within a star system. Our ships would be forced into normal space, completely exposed. How close are they to succeeding? Reeves demanded. Too close. The energy signature Lieutenant Kang detected. They're already running large-scale tests. We have weeks at most before they perfect it. The news spread through Phase Fleet Command like a shockwave. For the first time since the war began, humanity faced a genuine threat to their technological superiority. The Nexus Collective had finally found a way to fight back against the ghost ships that had been decimating their forces. But they had made one critical mistake. They've concentrated all their quantum nullification research in a single facility, Chen reported during the emergency council meeting. They're so desperate to find a counter to our phase shift technology that they've put all their resources in one basket. And now we know where that basket is, Reeves finished. But a direct assault would be suicide. They'll have their heaviest defenses concentrated there. Chen's smile was razor sharp. Who said anything about direct? Show them the new data. The tactical display shifted, showing a detailed analysis of the Nexus facility's defenses. They had indeed gathered an enormous fleet to protect their research center. But they had also done something else, something that played directly into humanity's hands. They've surrounded the facility with quantum detection arrays, Chen explained. Incredibly sensitive instruments designed to detect the slightest phase shift disturbance. They're hoping to catch our ships the moment they try to approach. And that's exactly why we're going to let them, Reeves announced, outlining the plan that would come to be known as Operation Quantum Strike. 24 hours later, the Phase Fleet executed its most audacious attack yet. Instead of trying to evade the Nexus detection arrays, they used them as guidance beacons. Multiple battle groups deliberately triggered the sensors, causing the alien defenders to focus their attention in specific directions. But the real attack came from within. Deep inside the research facility, previously planted quantum charges began to detonate. The explosions weren't meant to destroy. They were calibrated to create precise disruptions in the facility's own experimental fields. The Nexus scientists had been so focused on detecting phase-shifted ships that they never considered their own research might be turned against them. The cascade of quantum disruptions created a feedback loop in their nullification experiments. As the facility's power systems tried to compensate, they only made things worse. The tear in spacetime that they had been so carefully studying began to grow out of control. All ships, execute attack pattern Omega, Reeves ordered as the chaos unfolded. The Phase Fleet materialized simultaneously at predetermined coordinates, their weapons already firing. The Nexus defensive fleet, caught between attacking the human ships and trying to help their doomed facility, fell into disarray. "Sir," Commander Patel reported, "the quantum tear is reaching critical mass. If it collapses, all ships, emergency withdrawal," Reeves ordered. "Get clear of the blast radius." The Phase Fleet vanished just as the tear in spacetime imploded, taking the research facility and a significant portion of the Nexus fleet with it. Their greatest weapon against humanity had become their own destruction. But in the aftermath of the victory, troubling news arrived from Earth's deep space monitoring stations. The Nexus Collective, driven to the brink of defeat, had begun activating something they called the Unity Protocol. Massive fleets were gathering, not just from the 17 known member species, but from dozens of previously hidden reserve forces. "They're preparing for one final push," Chen told the Council. "They'll throw everything they have at us, hoping to overwhelm our phase shift capabilities through sheer numbers. Then we'll need to hit them harder," Reeves responded. "It's time to implement the extinction protocol." As the Phase Fleet regrouped for what would become the final phase of the war, humanity prepared to show the galaxy why threatening Earth with extinction had been the Nexus Collective's last and greatest mistake. The hunters had thought to eliminate a primitive species. Instead, they had awakened something far more dangerous, humanity's full potential. The end was approaching, and only one side would survive to see it, breaking the chains. The message arrived through channels so secret even most of Phase Fleet Command didn't know they existed. It came from the Nexus Collective's supposedly impregnable core worlds, transmitted by species who had suffered under their rule for millennia. "We have watched your ships strike from shadows," the message read. "We have seen the mighty humbled. If humanity fights for freedom, know that you do not fight alone." Admiral Reeves and Director Chen sat in silence after reading it. Understanding the implications, the Phase Fleet's successes hadn't just damaged the collective militarily. They had shattered its aura of invincibility. "How many species are we talking about?" Reeves finally asked. Chen consulted her datapad. At least 12 major civilizations spread across 30 core systems. They'd been secretly organizing since we began our attacks. The collective's grip on power is weakening, and they know it, which is why they're gathering their reserve fleets. Reeves nodded. "They're not just trying to stop us anymore. They're trying to prevent their entire empire from collapsing." The next phase of the war would require something beyond mere military victory. The Phase Fleet had to coordinate with resistance movements across dozens of worlds, timing their strikes to support uprisings while preventing the collective from crushing their newly declared allies. Operation Liberation began with a precision strike at the heart of the collective's command and control network. Phase fleet vessels appeared simultaneously in 15 different systems, targeting communication hubs, defense installations, and fleet coordination centers. Multiple successful breaches reported, Commander Patil announced as reports flooded in. Resistance forces are moving on primary targets. The collective's response times are significantly delayed. On dozens of worlds, subjugated species rose up against their overlords. The collective's military might had been built on the assumption that their technological superiority made them invincible. Now, with their communication networks in chaos and Earth's ghost ships striking their response forces at will, that assumption proved fatal. New contact. Lieutenant Wei's voice cut through the command center's controlled chaos. Massive energy signature detected in the Centauri sector. It's like nothing we've ever seen. The tactical display showed something that shouldn't have been possible. A ship larger than anything ever recorded, emerging from what appeared to be an artificial quantum rift. The vessel's energy readings suggested weaponry that could devastate entire star systems. The Unity Protocol, Chen whispered. This is what they were building in secret. A ship designed to operate in multiple quantum states simultaneously. They're trying to beat us at our own game. All ships, battle stations, Reeves ordered. Prepare for. Before he could finish, the massive vessel opened fire. Its weapons tore through space-time itself, creating distortions that threatened to disrupt the Phase fleet's stealth systems. For the first time, humanity's advanced technology faced a genuine challenge. How are they tracking us? Patil demanded as Earth ships were forced to execute emergency maneuvers. They're not, Chen realized, studying the data. They're firing everywhere at once, using quantum weapons to disrupt all possible spaces we could occupy. They don't need to see us if they can deny us anywhere to hide. The battle that followed would become legendary. The Phase fleet was forced to develop new tactics on the fly, coordinating with resistance forces to create distractions, while Earth ships probed for weaknesses in the collective's superweapon. There, Chen suddenly exclaimed, highlighting a section of sensor data. A ship can operate in multiple quantum states, but it has to synchronize them periodically. There's a fraction of a second when it's vulnerable. That's not much of a window, Reeves noted grimly. It's all we need. The next phase of the battle demonstrated why humanity had become so feared. Phase fleet vessels began timing their attacks to the microsecond, appearing precisely when the enemy vessel had to synchronize its quantum states. Each strike lasted less than a second, but the cumulative damage began to tell. The resistance forces played their part perfectly, launching simultaneous attacks across multiple systems to prevent the collective from sending reinforcements. The empire that had dominated known space for millennia found itself fighting enemies on all sides, enemies they couldn't detect, couldn't predict, and couldn't stop. Hours later, the massive vessel finally succumbed to the Phase fleet's relentless attacks. Its destruction created a quantum shockwave that rippled across several light years, a testament to the incredible energies it had contained. But even as humanity and its allies celebrated this victory, disturbing reports began arriving from the edges of known space. The collective's leadership, faced with the imminent collapse of their empire, had initiated something called the Omega Protocol. They're activating quantum destabilization devices in every major system, Chen reported, her voice tight with concern. If we can't stop them in time, they'll destroy everything, Reeves finished, including themselves. The war had entered its final phase. The hunters who had fought to make humanity extinct now faced a choice between surrender and mutual annihilation. The Phase fleet had one last battle to fight, not just for Earth's survival, but for the survival of all species in known space. The countdown to extinction had begun. Extinction Protocol. Time was measured in heartbeats now. Across known space, the Nexus Collective's quantum destabilization devices began their deadly countdown. Each one was capable of unraveling the fabric of space-time within its star system, creating a cascade effect that would spread like a cancer through the galaxy. "How long?" Admiral Reeves asked, his voice steady despite the stakes. 38 minutes until the first device reaches critical mass," Director Chen replied. "They've positioned them in a synchronized network. Once one goes off, the others will follow in a chain reaction." The Phase Fleet's command center had become a nexus of desperate activity. Display screens showed the positions of hundreds of ships, both human and allied vessels, racing against time to reach the destabilization devices before they could activate. The collective leadership's final message, Commander Petal reported. "Playing now." The holographic display showed Supreme Commander Xithtal, his crystalline form cracked and damaged from recent battles. "You sought to humble us," the alien leader's translated voice rang with bitter pride. "To shatter an empire that has maintained order for millennia. If we must fall, we will take all of known space with us. Perhaps the next species to achieve sentience will learn from our example." "They still don't understand," Chen said quietly. "Even now, they think this is about dominance." Reeves nodded grimly. "Let's show them what humanity really fights for. Execute Operation Starfire." The Phase Fleet's response demonstrated why they had become the most feared force in the galaxy. Instead of splitting up to tackle individual devices, they implemented a strategy that only ships with their unique capabilities could attempt. "All vessels, synchronize quantum frequencies," Reeves ordered. "Prepare for unified phase shift." What followed would be studied by military historians for centuries to come. The entire Phase Fleet, hundreds of ships working in perfect coordination, shifted into a quantum state that allowed them to exist at multiple points in spacetime simultaneously. Each ship effectively became many, operating across different probability streams. The strain on the crews was enormous. Operating in multiple quantum states challenged the human mind's ability to process reality. But they had trained for this, prepared for this ultimate contingency. "First wave, engage," Chen commanded. Across known space, Phase Fleet vessels struck at the destabilization devices simultaneously. The collective had protected each one with massive defensive forces, believing that no enemy could reach them all in time. They hadn't counted on ships that could be everywhere at once. "Multiple devices neutralized," Paddle reported, her voice tense with concentration. "But the quantum stress on our ships is approaching critical levels. We can't maintain this state much longer." "We don't have to," Reeves replied. "Look." The tactical display told the story. As each destabilization device was destroyed, the collective's remaining forces began to break. The sight of human ships operating in ways that should have been impossible, effectively multiplying their fleet's strength by orders of magnitude, shattered what remained of their will to fight. "Incoming transmission," Wei announced. "Multiple sources. It's the collective leadership. They're surrendering." The message was being broadcast on all frequencies, in all languages, to all Phase Fleet vessels and allied forces. "The Nexus Collective hereby announces its unconditional surrender. We ask only for mercy for our civilian populations." In the command center, Chen and Reeves shared a look that contained volumes. The war that had begun with a threat of human extinction was ending with humanity showing mercy to those who would have destroyed them. "Send the response," Reeves ordered quietly. Across the galaxy, on thousands of worlds, beings of all species heard humanity's answer. "Your surrender is accepted. All military forces will stand down immediately. Civilian populations will be protected. The era of the collective is over. The era of cooperation begins." Hours later, as the Phase Fleet began the monumental task of securing peace, Reeves stood at the observation window of his flagship, watching Allied ships helping to evacuate collective civilians from damaged stations. "Was this what you expected?" Chen asked, joining him at the window. "When we first built the Phase Fleet." Reeves shook his head slowly. "We built it to protect Earth. I never imagined we'd end up protecting the entire galaxy." He paused, considering. Maybe that's the difference they never understood. They built their empire to dominate. We built our fleet to defend. The quantum alerts that had once warned of threats now chimed with messages of gratitude and alliance from species across known space. Humanity had not just survived, they had transformed the galaxy. There's still so much to do, Chen noted. Helping worlds rebuild, establishing new governance systems, preventing power vacuums from leading to new conflicts. And we'll handle it all, Reeves replied confidently. Not as conquerors, not as an empire, but as guides. We'll show them a better way. The Phase fleet would remain, not as a weapon of war, but as a force for peace. The ships that had brought extinction to humanity's enemies would now ensure the survival of all species who sought to live in harmony. In the darkness between the stars, humanity's invisible guardians continued their eternal watch. They had faced extinction and emerged not just victorious, but transformed. The hunters had become protectors, and the galaxy would never be the same. The story of the Phase fleet would be told for generations across thousands of worlds. Not as a tale of conquest, but as a reminder that true strength lies not in the power to destroy, but in the wisdom to know when to show mercy. The void was silent once more, but it was no longer empty. In the quantum shadows, humanity's ships stood ready, not to hunt, but to defend. Not to destroy, but to preserve. The extinction protocol had given birth to a protection protocol, and a new era of peace had begun.